we should be live. Welcome back, everybody, nerds and turds, to another live stream repair. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 HomePods here that we're going to get fixed up. First one from Edwin with no power, and then Michael with no bass, then Jeff with no power, and then Dave with DC offset. Jump into our normal repairs for today. Get their name up on the screen. There we go. Excuse me. And we'll kick things off, of course, by checking our symptoms with a known good power cable. No response there, and 4 to 6 watts of power draw. So seems to be the typical diode failure on the amplifier that we normally see for the no power issue. Let's get this apart and find out. It does give me kind of like late stage prototype vibes. Alright, display didn't seem to put up much of a fight. That's always nice. Sometimes you end up having to really ream on this, and you end up yanking on the cable before you're able to reach and disconnect it. And I've even myself accidentally started pulling this connector off the display. But you can either just push it back down, or if it's too far gone, then ouch. But I do have a couple of these spare connectors that I've pulled from broken displays, so I might be able to send you one if you hit me up, if you happen to need one. A lot of these prototypes or whatever probably get out long after the product's been discontinued, and employees sneak them home, give them away to someone. I doubt somebody left a HomePod in a bar. Yeah, right. Nah, that'd be like... that would be like Google levels of planted product leaks. That's what I was looking for. Keen. Yes, you are correct. That was done a couple months ago. And, gosh, I can't remember what the reason exactly was for the delay. But the new HomePod was coming out, and I think they wanted to add some stuff about that potentially. I haven't even had the time to listen to the podcast myself yet. Today has been an awfully busy day, HomePod repairs aside. I'm lucky I only got 4 to fix here. Wow, that is putting up a fight, even with copious amounts of rubbing alcohol in there to soften it up. Not too much a fight though. That alcohol definitely helped. More like I think we'd be cursing and swearing at the thing at this point if we didn't know that rubbing alcohol trick. They cut it together nicely. That's good to hear. I was extremely nervous for that interview. It was I've hosted plenty of podcasts myself in the past, but it's the first time that I'd ever been on a podcast. And one as big as that, by a name as big as that. So I was pretty nervous about it. And then I think it was like a few weeks later, I had the Podfeet podcast, which ended up coming out before the Verge article. They ended up putting that thing out like a few days or within like a week or so after that. Right before my daughter was born, actually. So by the Podfeet interview, I felt my nerves had already calmed down about like being interviewed about this kind of stuff, and I had already kind of got the feel for being interviewed about it. So the Podfeet interview I felt went a lot smoother. And if I had a chance to do the Verge interview again, I would probably do it. But a lot of people feel like that about a lot of things. I think we did aight. Can't wait to listen to it. We're just going to let that dry. Let's check the condition of our subwoofer here. We always check. You never know. Looks alright. Sounds nice and smooth. Feels nice and smooth. And it smells good. So that is a happy little subwoofer. Have I tried benzene for the glue? It sounds familiar. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up and see if it's safe for the plastic and the mesh as well. Oh, and the rubber for the subwoofer too, because it's gonna get that wet, and it's also gonna get the foam gasket for the subwoofer a little wet too. So the rubbing alcohol seems to not do anything to those parts. Can you swap the old subwoofer and put it in the new HomePod? Unfortunately, you can't. If you watch our teardown, you'll see that the new subwoofer actually has more screws than the old one. So, unfortunately, it physically fits, but you would have to basically redesign your own rings here to sort of hold the subwoofer into place. Something if you had a 3D printer would probably be fairly trivial to do, but something that I myself do not have. Also, what's up, Jeff? I think you would also have to drill holes into the old subwoofer in order for these screws that go into the basket for the new HomePod to be able to go through and mount into the bottom half of the shell. So with modification and some custom parts, and the custom parts themselves entirely possible. Maybe, I don't know if it would necessarily be really worth the effort though, because at that point you're kind of just taking a part that is already kind of hard to get. That does happen to fail on occasion in these HomePods. You're basically taking that away from these and you're moving it to something at the moment in time is currently supported. And likely Apple actually repairs these now, the second gens. So they probably have parts, which means likely we're going to probably see parts become available for that one way or another, be it some method, unofficial or official. We'll put it that way. So, we've got ourselves no power. So usually with the amount of power draw we saw, it's this Schottky barrier diode right here that's tends to fail and prevents everything from powering on. The reason for that, if you were curious, because you may think, oh, well, why does the whole thing not power on if the issue's on the amplifier? Well, your logic board and your display are actually getting its power through the amplifier. So this is your power supply. This is what takes the power from your wall and it feeds it through its connector underneath to the amplifier board. And then the amp will connect through this ribbon cable to the logic board and display. So if the amp has a big snafu, then nothing's going to show like it's working. Anyways, as for this diode in particular, we continue to only see, this is a date code here, this 1746K. We continue to see these date codes failing along with 1748K. And then all the other ones that are working just fine have different date codes, either much older, much newer, some even the same ones that still happen to be working fine. But usually that's what we see. And we haven't seen anything break that rule yet. So let's go ahead and see if this diode is bad with our beeper. Yep, beep is bad. So that diode is kaput's. Let's give it a new one. See if this amp will turn on. What's wrong with the speakers? Do they yeah, what's wrong with them? Are they like broken? Or you're just not happy with how they sound? Alright, dead diode is off. So let's give ourselves a dead diode beer. Grab a fresh new one. One of our watchers, their name is Old Man in the chat, was able to confirm that there were a few different part numbers for this diode in particular are compatible. So I put that info up on my website under the common issues no power section if you're curious about what other parts or what you can use instead of this exact diode if you can only get other ones. So based on the info that's available there, you should be able to derive at least find a diode that is available to you in your area with the specs that are needed. Because the diodes that we've got up there have slightly different specs between all of them, but it seems that the amp rating, it's a 60 volt 5 amp Schottky barrier diode that we use OEM, but I think one of them is a 60 volt 7 amp Schottky barrier diode, which is also totally fine to use. There's also the Q variant of the S560, which just goes through additional quality process to make sure that it doesn't fail in automotive applications and crash and burn your whole family. So, all of those seem to be compatible and work just fine if you can only get your hands on one of those. Otherwise, there's absolutely no harm in using the same part here based on what we continue to see, which is a bad batch of them rather than an underspec'd part. So if you could only find a diode with one contact on each side instead of the one big one and the two little ones, we did test on an amp. We actually bridged these two pads with a big blob of solder, and the board powered on and worked just fine for us during brief testing. So that appears to be okay. I need to get my hands on some and just straight up pop the diode on there and see for myself. It'll be an interesting thing to try. Lots of interesting things to try on these boards. Not enough time to do it. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but we did it during a live stream. Somebody had asked a similar question, and we just said, screw it, let's just pull out a board and bridge those pins on the top and see what happens. And it happened. I need to go back through all of my past live streams and start clipping out highlights of them and condensing them into uploads and maybe shorts. I mean, first of all, it's free real estate, right? Free content. Second of all, a hell of a lot of people have no interest in watching a live stream, let alone a live stream that runs for hours. Sure, a lot of people don't mind. Got a little kiss there. Sure, a lot of people don't mind tuning in for a few minutes and then checking out to something else. But a lot of people typically just prefer a straight old upload, like 10 minutes or less. And it shows. I can see the average viewer duration on my live streams, and it usually hovers around 8 to 13 minutes. Alright, so it's powering on without a problem. That's great. We'll wait for it to finish booting up. We'll check its DC offset there. Got some wonderful sounding bass and a wonderful offset result. So we're holding pretty steady at under 1 millivolt. A very impressive result. I feel like I'm getting more consistent results with this new multimeter, oh, goodbye, than this thing. And I'm just gonna throw this thing in a pit of fire. I hate it so much. It beeps so much at you for doing anything. And then it beeps a bunch at you when it's about to turn off, and then it beeps again when it does turn off. And there's no way to keep it from turning off, even though the manual says if you hold select while turning it on, you can see APO stands for auto power off. So you hold select down and that goes away, but it still turns itself off. So quite a disappointing purchase for my Fix-It, but honestly the only disappointing purchase I've ever had for my Fix-It. I've bought screens and batteries and obviously our screwdriver kit from them. Their tools are awesome. But this multimeter, you can... Let's get this thing put back together. Trying to watch all... Did we save the stream? Yes. Oh my goodness, we did. The old multimeter got its revenge. That's correct. And I have no idea what happened there. I guess that might just be CenturyLink's way of saying, hey, just a reminder, that was 99.9% uptime, not 100%. Anyways, let's carry on putting this thing back together. I can't even remember what I was saying. If anybody remembers what I was talking about. I was just sitting there like, why? Where did my network go? I could still hit my router, so it wasn't an issue there. And it came back like in like 30 seconds. So I'm not sure if it was like my modem dying and restarting. It is in the garage, and it is very cold. So I don't know if it's got if it's throwing a tantrum or not. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. I will admit that I pay for YouTube Premium. I actually pay for the family plan, so that way I can have my wife on there, and then I've got a couple of friends and coworkers also on there. Primarily because I want to not deal with ads, and I do have ad block on my router at home. So on a network-wide level, anything connected to my home network won't no ad, like it sees no light of day for ad servers. But outside of my home network, if I don't feel like being connected to my private VPN all the time, usually I'm just using YouTube for like music or whatever. And AdBlock is just a pain in the ass on trying to deal with it on multiple platforms, honestly, at the end of the day. So, plus, debatable whether it's ethical to block ads or not. I don't know how I feel about that. I sometimes lean one way or the other slightly, but at the end of the day, it's just simpler and easier for me to just add YouTube Premium to my list of subscription services that I pay for and support the content creators that I enjoy watching, instead of suffering through ads or just blocking the ads and not supporting them at all. But I don't use YouTube Premium for like the music app. I tried it out. It's kind of awkward to use. It's aight. But it's probably going to get killed like everything else Google makes. Oh my gosh, and they jacked up the price of the family plan too. I think it's by like $5 or $7 or something. That's a grumpy baby. She's gearing up for a grumble. There she goes. There she goes again. I don't know why I took these off. That's what I get for talking and working at the same time. Wow. Okay, come on now. Here we go. Oops. Probably not something you want to hear your doctor saying while they're doing surgery on you. Oops. Thank you, thank you. I try to put a lot of, probably the most effort into the video title. As we all know, the thumbnail and the title are like the two most important things to your videos getting clicked on. And I'm not great at thumbnails, so I gotta do good at the title. What do we got? I think we forgot to plug the power supply in. Again. Talking while we work, biting us in the butt. Let me just watch the replay really quick and confirm. If that's the case, then I'm just gonna take this apart after the stream here. Because I am trying to finish in time to have some dinner with wife. Let's see, it was about 9 minutes ago we were putting this back. Got the power supply in there. Yeah, screwed it in, and then just straight up didn't even plug it back in. LMAO. Okay. Let's make a note of that so we don't forget. I'll work on that with the kiddo tonight while I'm watching her. Who's up next? Who is up next? Let us check the description. We've got Michael with no bass. Oh boy. This might be a fun one. Let's see. Michael. No bass. Oh, I'm gonna say goodbye to the Siri remote.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Okay, yeah. That's a lack of bass. Or as some would say, it sounds like a tin can. Let's get this apart and find out why it's got no bass. Do we have a roasted subwoofer as a result of failing filters that allowed DC voltage to get through the amp and cook it over time? Or do we have a short on the amplifier? I swear to you are going to get the most painful death. I don't even remember leaving that damn thing on. There we go. Easy peasy. I'm just kidding. It's going to be perfectly usable to chuck in the trunk of the car and just have it on hand if I need a multimeter out on the road. You never know. It sure beats licking the battery to see if it's still got juice. Come on, don't tell me you haven't licked batteries before. Especially the 9 volts. They give a good little zip. And did you know that you can bounce your AA and AAA batteries in your C and D cells on the table? And if they don't bounce, then they're still full of juice. But if they bounce pretty well, then that means they're pretty dried up and about dead. I think that only goes for the non-rechargeables. I don't think that holds up for the rechargeables too. Ooh, that one sounded weird. Very unpleasant. Don't ever do that again. Subwoofer checks out, smells good, looks good, feels good. if the subwoofer is okay, which, yeah, everything checks out for the woofer. That means that our issue solely lies within the amplifier. And I don't see anything obvious on this side. Which is usually the case. Most of the bass stuff happens on the other side. Okay. What is going on? Everything on the other side looks good too. Maybe a little dirty. Let's go ahead and check the usual suspect with no obvious visual damage. Sometimes there's this tiny little black capacitor over here that likes to short out and cause no bass. If it's not that, then we're going to table this board and swap it with another amp that we know works. And then we'll come back to this other board at a future date. In other words, oh, okay. Yeah. Seems alright. Well, maybe not. No, it's okay. Oh, but the one below it looks bad. This one's bad. That's a 10 microfarad size 1206 capacitor. Chances are it's probably the same one as our filtering caps over here. But let's go ahead and pull this cap off the board and see if the short goes away with it. Okay, what's it got? No more short. That's ground. And that cap is definitely shorted. So let's get it replaced with another one. Again, that's a 10 microfarad size 1206 capacitor. Here's it right next to a new one. It might be a slightly longer. I don't have my calipers on me, so I can't tell for sure, but we will be sure to add that info on the website if that's different. They look pretty darn close. Alright. Nice. Let's see if that works. Do we still have a short there? We verified the cap itself was shorted, and we verified that the pads weren't shorted once we got it off. Yeah, sure enough. It's on there, and it's not shorting. So, my fingers are crossed. I'm feeling optimistic. That's cooled down enough, so let's power this up and see if it works. Here we go. We've got a connection to our woofer over here. That's connected to our multimeter on the screen there. Damn, still no bass. Let me just clean these off really quick just to be sure. Excuse me, I am so sorry for that. And I also want to have a tweeter on this just to make sure that we still have at least some sort of sound. Don't try this at home. Okay, so still no bass. The sound works. The short is gone. But we still got no bass. So, I'm going to go ahead and put this board to the side. We're going to put in another amplifier. It's a good thing I pulled parts earlier today. We came prepared. That'll be a fun one to figure out. In the meantime, here's another amplifier. It still has an original power diode, and it actually has a date code of 1748K on it. So we are going to replace that diode on there before we simply put this thing back together. And then we're going to test this just to make sure that it still powers on. It doesn't have any DC offset, you know the drill. Let's make sure this thing powers on and doesn't have any other issues, and then we'll put this back together. We got power. Okay. So we've only got 1 millivolt of offset. Our base is working. We've got no issues there. So this is good to put back together. Here we go. Nice and close with focus. Let's check them. Here's our next repair from Jeff with no power.
I'm having trouble connect.
Very good.
I'm having
And very good. So Michael checks out. They've got their base back. Let's put that away. And bring in Jeff here. We'll start, of course, like always, with a known good power cable to check our symptoms. And we see nothing there, and the typical 4 to 6 watts of power draw for the common diode failure that we usually see here on the channel. Let's get it apart and find out if we're correct again. Oh wow, that came off perfectly. Normally the adhesive on here likes to put up a fight and peel off or make a mess. Not here, one single piece this time. I'll take it. Give it a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in there and swirl it around to weaken that adhesive that's holding the basket down before we go and pry it off. Ew, did it again, what the heck? Oh, it must be the alcohol making it squeak. Ah, welcome to the chat. Which means it must be early as shit in the morning for you. Looks good, feels good, smells good. Happy little subwoofer. Here we go. Let's get up close. Our diode there has a date code of 1746K. So who wants to bet? That is a dead diode. Let's replace it. Let's check our work. We've got power. Let's see. Okay, so looking good. We've got 2 millivolts of offset there. And sounds like our base was working fine, so no issues there. Let's go ahead and put this back together. And we'll move on to our last one for the day. I see two of you have managed to sneak back into the stream here. Sorry about that. I had to actually unlist it. By chance, I checked my email, and it turns out I'm not supposed to show anything about something that we showed earlier. So I'm gonna need to come back to this stream later and edit that out, so nobody gets in trouble. Quite unfortunate. I was very, very excited to see that and share it with you guys, but I am going to respect the wishes of the client. And I think that they just want us to fix it off the record for them. So yeah, I gotta go back and edit part of this stream out once we wrap up here, so that way it doesn't show what we're not supposed to be showing here, and then I'll be able to make the stream public for everybody again. Hey, well, thank you for watching. I wouldn't do it if you guys wouldn't watch. Okay, let's get this top back on. What do we got? We've got power.
Trouble connecting to the internet.
What do we got?
I'm having trouble.
Cool. Everything checks out for Jeff's pod here. So we will put that away and grab our last repair here. This one's from Dave. And I believe it is also... Yeah, oh, Death Fart's DC offset. Okay, so let's power that up and take a quick listen. Here we go. Oh,
I'm having
yeah, that's a pretty good pop. Dave is here. Welcome to your repair. We are now going to take it apart and see what's going on inside. Woofer check. Looks good. Feels good. Smells good. Happy little subwoofer. Oh, I figured I'd go ahead and point this out here since I noticed. This basket isn't even all the way glued down. See this? That's the glue from the factory, and then it just ends. Like there's a good third of the basket that wasn't glued down from the factory. So I guess really my whole point is this glue isn't necessary. There's a gasket underneath there that does all the hard work. And yeah, that glue. I don't think I've ever seen one that only had half of it glued on there like that. But there's a first time for everything. Let's get up close. That diode has a date code of 1752K for those curious. Everything else on the board looks good. So let's go ahead and power this up, connect it to our multimeter, and just confirm really quick that we do in fact have bad filters, which would be evident by too much DC voltage getting through out the amp and into the subwoofer, which will cause that death fart behavior. The amp has some sort of protection built in that senses for how much DC voltage it's generating, and once it passes a certain threshold, somewhere around 3 to 6 volts DC, it will force a restart and play that death fart sound. So let's get this powered on. And so we've got 350 millivolts of offset, and it is quickly rising. Pretty far away from the 50 millivolt max that we like to keep things under, and certainly a sign that those filters are bad. So let's get the filters replaced. We're also going to replace the Schottky barrier diode. That's the part that likes to fail and cause no power. Not that this one has a diode with the date code that we suspect is part of that bad batch of them. But we replace it every time nonetheless, just in case. So first up, our filters. I don't think we have enough solder on there. Yeah. Wow, this one's being particularly stubborn today. There we go. There we go. Nothing's touching nothing that shouldn't. Looking good. Let's take care of that diode and then we'll give this a test. Let's see if it's all good to go. Okay. Our offset's looking fantastic at around 6 to 7 millivolts. Our bass still sounds good, and obviously we've got power, so this one's ready to rock. Yes, below 50 millivolts is really the ideal target. Realistically, any improvement from hundreds of millivolts down to less than 100 millivolts is going to be fine. As long as it stays under like 50 to 100 millivolts, then those caps are probably still good. Let's make sure everything still works.
I'm having trouble connecting.
Beautiful.
I'm having
No significant popping anymore. Everything checks out. So we'll leave this plugged in overnight just to make sure it's still good to go. But otherwise, we've got everything we needed to fixed up today. If you have any questions about any of the repairs we did today or HomePod repairs in general, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're looking for more info doing repairs yourself or reaching out to me to get yours fixed, check out my website, nixfix.com. And I will catch you